All right, huge P. Diddy update. This is the up-to-the-minute drama. So we have Combs, P. Diddy, found guilty on 2 counts.
Just denied bail, so that means he'll be staying in jail. Today, after Diddy was found guilty of only 2 charges of transportation to engage in prostitution, he was arguing that he should be released on bail today. The prosecution put in a letter detailing all of the reasons why Diddy's bail needed to be denied, and also letters from Cassie Ventura and Deontay Nash. In both of those letters, they detailed that they believed that Diddy was a danger to the witnesses that testified against him in his case. The judge pretty much agreed on this and said that Diddy has shown violence throughout this trial, like the Intercontinental Hotel video. The judge said even if the defendant was solely required to show that he is not a danger to the community, he could not meet that burden. Prior to trial, the court denied bail and sees no reason to reverse that now. The defense conceded that the defendant's violence, his violence, is depicted in the video of Cassie Ventura. The defense admitted this is a terrible moment. Domestic violence is the issue. But it wasn't only that. There was also the London hotel incident. There was violence after the searches in this case. As to Jane, there was June 2024, after the searches of Combs' residences. This evidence shows a disregard for the law and a propensity for violence. The court takes no position on what it will consider at sentencing, nor what sentence it will impose. Here, the burden is on him, and he cannot carry it. The defense argues the guideline starts at 21 months, and the U.S. says 51 months. He's done 10 months. Depending what side the judge leans on this, Diddy could be looking at 11 months with time served, since he's already done 10 months, if he goes closer with the defense, up to 41 months if he goes closer to the prosecution. The judge then says, I set the sentencing hearing for Friday, October 3rd at 10 a.m., but I am willing to expedite it. Diddy's lawyer said that we would like to expedite it, and the judge told him that they need to fill out an expedited pre-sentencing report from probation. That's it. Diddy will now remain in jail until his sentencing hearing, when he is sentenced for the charges. Y'all, let me know what you guys think about all this in the comments.
But cleared of most of the serious charges. Now, fans are celebrating with baby oil, we heard. But also to add that Sean Diddy Combs has been found guilty of 2 of the counts.
Okay, so the trial of Sean Combs, P. Diddy, is over. He has been acquitted of racketeering, that's the RICO count, and 2 counts of sex trafficking by coercion or force. But he was convicted of 2 counts of engaging in interstate transportation for the purposes of prostitution. So what does this mean in terms of a sentence? Allow me to explain. I'm Molly. I'm a federal criminal defense lawyer, and if an attorney doesn't practice in federal court, they likely don't know how to break down federal sentencing. Let's get into it. Okay, so the 2 counts of conviction are violations of 18 United States Code, Section 2421, subsection A2. And the first thing you need to understand is that all sentences in federal court are essentially governed by the United States sentencing guidelines. The judge, the parties go through this process where the guidelines are determined, an advisory sentencing range in months is determined, and then the parties can argue for whatever they consider to be a reasonable sentence. The other thing you need to know is that there is no mandatory minimum for violations of 18 United States Code, Section 2421A2. And to determine a sentence for this offense, you have to go to the United States Sentencing Guidelines, Chapter 2, Section 2G 1.1. I believe that the sentencing calculation under 2G 1.1 is pretty low. Basically, Sean Combs, P. Diddy, is going to start at a level 14 under this guideline. And there are circumstances where the court could have added 4 levels if there was force or coercion in the case. But here, because he was acquitted, I think, of the sex trafficking by force or by coercion, there is a recent amendment to the guidelines that says the judge can't consider acquitted conduct. So I don't think he's going to get those 4 levels. I think he's going to be at a level 14. Now, there is a special instruction under this guideline that if there is more than 1 victim, you go to Chapter 3 and you address multiple counts, kind of like the grouping rules. So here we might see a couple of levels added because we know he has 2 counts with 2 different victims described in the indictment. So let's say his total offense level is somewhere between perhaps like a 14 or a 16, depending on the multiple counts grouping rules in Chapter 3. The other thing you have to calculate is Sean Combs, P. Diddy's criminal history category. We know he has the conviction that he pled guilty to for the domestic violence against Cassie in California, but at most that's probably just a 1 point or a 2 point offense. I don't think he has any felony convictions, so he's likely in criminal history category 1. So then when you go to the sentencing table and compare his offense level to his criminal history category, when we look at those who are in criminal history category 1 and levels 14, 15, and 16, you can see that we're looking at sentences that range from about a year and a few months, a year and a half, to 2 years, 2.5, depending on those grouping rules. So this is certainly a situation where his attorneys can ask for time served.
That is transportation of prostitution, but cleared of the more serious charges of the sex trafficking and racketeering conspiracy. This is insane. But I will say this. The wheels of justice have turned, and it seems to have turned in his favor. Now, let's talk about this. He does have bail tomorrow at 5 p.m., I heard, and the bail is set at $1 million, which means that he can rock around and won't roam around the world. People thought that he was going to be...
All right, y'all. So the judge in the Diddy trial has made a decision regarding bail, which is going to determine whether or not Diddy gets to go home and spend the rest of the time waiting for sentencing at his house, or whether or not he's going to remain in custody. And let's talk about what happened. So ultimately what the judge decided to do, which is kind of shocking and surprising as to what I thought was going to happen, is that he denied Diddy bail, saying that he has to remain in custody in jail until his sentencing. To give you an idea of what Diddy's team offered in order to try to secure his release, they proposed $1 million bond secured by the family with travel restrictions and regular substance testing. And they argued that because he was acquitted of the most serious charges, that he no longer posed a significant flight risk or danger to the public. However, the federal prosecutors argued differently, and Cassie even put a statement in saying, begging the judge actually to keep him in jail, keep him remanded in custody until his sentencing. What this makes me wonder is that if this is going to be indicative of how the judge is going to be when it comes to sentencing. And what I mean by that is that these are smaller charges and compared to everything that he was charged with. And the fact that the judge is saying, hey, even though this is the case, even though you beat the bigger charges, we're still keeping you in jail, we're going to remand you to custody. I wonder if that means that when he gets to sentencing, if he's going to levy a harsher sentence. Now, what he's facing is 10 years per count, max. There is no minimum, so the judge could say time served, or the judge could say you're going up to 10 years. He's a first-time offender, so the odds of it being the max are slim, but it makes it sound like he's probably going to be getting a few years. As soon as we have more information about this and the sentencing date, I'll be back to let you guys know. Make sure to hit that follow button and drop your thoughts about this in the comments.
Cooked. He was going to be in jail forever. That was it for him. This is shocking. And this is one of the reasons, if you really pay attention to what I'm trying to say here, guys, this is one of the reasons why I didn't really cover the P. Diddy case, because it seemed like a hate train already from the beginning. People are saying that it's not illegal to be a freak. This was painted as P. Diddy. This is very interesting. This is what I heard from reading the updates. He was painted as being like a bad guy for having freak off parties, okay? Which is not illegal. They were saying in the court that his freak lifestyle was a lifestyle, not a crime, right? But what they did get him on, and I'm looking over here because the transportation for prostitution, yeah, I could see that 100%, right? Which I think people do that a lot. From what I heard, a lot of that goes down. It's one of the, what do people say, that paying for whatever, one of the oldest business practices in the world or something like that. I'm not condoning it. I'm just, talking about what I've seen and heard. But the S trafficking, no, he was not charged of that. Racketeering, he wasn't charged of that. I'm shocked, because it seemed like from the beginning that he was cooked. This is what it seemed like. This is going to be a great movie. But if you really look at it, a lot of bloggers, online YouTubers, TikTokers, they were all coming and reporting the news with confirmation bias and giving you their opinion and saying that P. Diddy's gonna go to jail, P. Diddy this, P. Diddy that, right? They were like basically bashing P. Diddy. Then here he is, it comes down to the wire, and he's gonna get set free tomorrow. Yes, he's probably gonna have to spend some time in jail, which he already did this last couple of weeks and months. He's already gonna have to pay some fines, right? But as for the most serious charges that would have locked him up for years, he did not get held accountable for those. So he's gonna be on bail tomorrow for $1 million. And let me find out if there's any updates right now, because this is literally up to the most up-to-date information right now. We got a new update. Let me see. This is from the Associated Press, that the live update that Sean Diddy Combs found not guilty of most serious charges, convicted for prostitution offenses. Okay, jury finds Diddy not guilty of racketeering and trafficking, which I feel like those were the most hard-hitting charges. Just my opinion. I could be wrong. What does this mean? I think that this is going to be very scary for a lot of the people who really went against P. Diddy. And I think that they might feel like they need to have some type of protection, especially if they're making online content and videos bashing him and things like that over and over and over. Like some of like the loudest of them all social media people. I think that some of those people might, something might happen to them. Just who knows, right? What we know about the case. Okay, so we got the charges. We're gonna go into that. So there was a possible, sentencing. All right, and then Combs' reaction after hearing the verdict. You guys want to hear that? Combs held his hands up in a praying motion when he heard his verdict in the courtroom. That's what happened. And they said would seek a prison term. Okay, prosecutors, that's what they wanted, right? And the maximum for the prosecution was about 10 years for the most serious charges. So, well, what do you think about that? All right, so the judge, right? You're not going to read this. 5 p.m. tomorrow, Wednesday, bail hearing for Sean Diddy Combs. All right, this is by Michael R. Combs remains in custody after the verdict. Okay, so he's still in jail right now. Let's make that 100% clear. His attorney wants him released while he waits sentencing on a $1 million bond signed by himself, his mother, his sister, and the mother of his older daughter. Now, prosecutors opposed any release, saying he was convicted of crimes of violence. The court has said that Judge Aaron will return to the courtroom at 5 p.m. to make a decision on Combs' bail request. All right, this is to be tomorrow. Now, the letter to the judge says that the calculation based on federal sentencing guidelines calls for roughly 4 to 5 years in prison. And the term they will suggest in writing before his sentencing may be his higher still, because they contend fraud and coercion were involved. I'm just reading this. It's just, like I said, guys, up to the minute drama popping off right now. They always argue that Combs was convicted of a crime of violence and therefore should be freed prior to sentencing only if the judge finds clear and convincing evidence that he won't flee or pose a danger to anyone. Now, prosecutors say detention is mandatory in these circumstances. They would find a case in which a defendant was released from custody after such conviction. They could not find a case. They also said Combs remains a danger to the community because 3 months before his arrest, and while he was aware he was under investigation, he brutally assaulted a woman who testified at his trial under, like a Jane Doe. And they say he was in possession of materials for a freak-off event while he was arrested at New York hotel in September. Whoa. This is interesting. You guys, no matter how you slice it or dice it, he did some bad things. All right? I don't agree with him or condoning him putting his hands on women. No means no. I think that he could have went about things a totally different way. Him flying in people for, I think there were escorts that he was flying in for, his prostitution, stuff like that. I was like, there would have been a lot of people who would have willingly did things with you who find you attractive. So I don't understand why you're doing that. That's my opinion. Like, I'm not there, I don't know. But, I think that one of the things I find very interesting is that I never really saw that many fans outside the courthouse of P. Diddy, right? How is this going to affect him moving forward? You know, he's lost a lot of friends. I don't see Jay-Z by his side or Beyonce, and they went to his house. They were friends with him. I think a lot of people in the music industry and other celebrities, they just kind of distanced themselves away from P. Diddy during this time. But I think they're going to evidently just do it for a long time. I don't see anyone really rallying behind him. Like, where are the fans? Like, when we had that whole Johnny Depp situation, there were fans of Johnny Depp outside rooting for him. In this situation, I don't really see many P. Diddy fans. And the thing about P. Diddy is that everybody knows who he is. Like, my mom knows who P. Diddy is. So for him to not have so much of a rally behind him, I think is interesting. Will this affect his career moving forward? Absolutely. I don't know if I think he's cooked. Probably no more movie deals. Probably no more music is going to be sold. I think he broke ties with that brand Ciroc, the vodka company. I saw that at the airport the other day. It was buy one, get one half off. I mean, they're really trying to push them bottles. But let me know what you think about this up-to-date situation with P. Diddy and in the court hearing and the reading and everything. I can't wait to see how this turns out. And I'll see you guys in the comment section. This is Rich Lives with the hottest celebrity news and gossip on YouTube. Mwah.